The third thing that all naturals should know by now is how to properly read an ingredients label. And long story short, you can't. Welcome back to my channel. It's Ev, and today I'm going to be telling you guys 5 things that all naturals should know by now but probably don't. And yes, I have done this video before, but this video is going to be part 2. That video ended up getting really popular, and since you guys liked it so much, I decided to do a second one just because I feel like it will be very educational for anyone who is just now starting off on their natural hair journey, and or for anyone who's been in the game for a hot minute, in the streets for a hot minute, but nobody ever told you these things specifically. And yes, I know I haven't been on my channel for a hot minute, but your girl is back and we going to school. All right, so whip out your pencils, whip out your pens, and we gonna learn today. But before I jump into it, take one quick second, go down below, click that subscribe button so you don't miss any more videos from me, and thumbs up if you like this type of content. And without further ado, let's jump into it. So the first thing that all naturals need to know by now but probably don't is that you need to switch up your parts. Now, when I first big chopped in 2016, I had about a year's worth of new growth of natural hair, and my parts weren't super hard to get to. My hair just wasn't that long and it wasn't that bad, but I started to part my hair off the longer it got, and you do have to switch up your parts because it can cause breakage in the same areas over and over and over again, as in you can get like a permanent middle part or any kind of permanent damage to your scalp because it's constantly being roughed up in the same area, I guess. I know definitely with my hair, I have like pre-made parts. Like I could go in and try and like part my hair differently, but it would be a lot more difficult for me to do that because I've been parting my hair in the same way over and over and over again. And you really shouldn't be like me. You should switch it up. You should make sure that the breakage that you get from parting your hair is evenly distributed around different parts of your hair, so you are not stressing out the same area over and over again. But it is hard to do that, especially for me. I have a lot of dense and fine hair, so it's easier to just keep going back to the same thing over and over and over, and it makes my wash day a lot faster. But do not be like me, okay? Don't do it, because your hair and your scalp will thank you in the end. You really don't want damage to happen in the same areas over and over again, because at some point it might not be easy to fix. So switch up your parting now so that you have options later. The second thing that all naturals should know by now but probably don't is that the porosity test, in order to determine your hair's porosity, may be a little misleading because of something called surface tension. When you first put your hair in a cup of water to determine what your hair's porosity is, you might actually have to poke at it a little bit in order to get your real hair porosity. Now, I know in the past I have definitely done this before. I'll put my hair in a cup of water to see what my porosity is. It will float at the top and not go anywhere. So I'm like, oh, I'm low porosity. But quite honestly, because of surface tension, everyone's hair is going to float at the top in the beginning. So in order to determine what your porosity is, you're going to have to like provoke it down past the surface tension, like poke it down past the surface tension so that you can find your hair's real porosity. The test is not super misleading on its own, but I don't think a lot of people know about the surface tension when it comes to doing the test. So if that is how you are trying to determine your porosity, and I do think porosity is a very, very important something to know, you have to make sure that the surface tension isn't tricking you into thinking that you're low porosity, and you're really not. I've mentioned in my past videos that porosity is a very important something that you want to know when it comes to a healthy hair journey and making sure that you are doing the best and most optimal things to maintain the hair on your head. But just know this one particular test, if that is the way that you determine it, how much your hair soaks up water, then you're gonna have to combat a little bit of surface tension. It's not that big of a deal, but be aware that the test might not give you the same results if you don't know those things. The third thing that all naturals should know by now is how to properly read an ingredients label. And long story short, you can't. A lot of companies are compliant, but they aren't necessarily completely honest. And so when it comes to the order on the ingredients label, they can actually put extracts way at the top of the ingredients label, but that does not mean that the product is mostly an extract. I will link down below in the description box. You guys can check this out for yourselves. Hopefully I am relaying the information as correctly as I can, but if a product has, I think, under a certain percentage and is considered an extract, they, in order to promote the product, can put those extracts up at the top of the list, even though that is not the majority of the product. They can actually put the extracts in any order that they want to, but extracts are literally less than like 1 or 2% of the product. They can just list it at the top if they would like. Now, I don't think natural hair product companies are out here trying to swindle us, okay? But I do think when it comes to marketing, they let you know what their marketing key ingredients are, and they put those in the product like at the top in the ingredients list so that you know that it's in there and it's not like any kind of false advertising. But just be aware, they can put extracts specifically wherever they want to on the ingredients list. So when you're looking at the order and saying, hey, this product is mostly A, B, and C, that might not actually be the case if a whole bunch of extracts are listed in the beginning. Once again, compliant, but not necessarily completely in order. The fourth thing that all naturals should know by now, but probably don't, is that when you use deep conditioners, which I think is a very important step in a healthy natural hair journey, do not skip deep conditioning. When you use a deep conditioner, usually the effects of the deep conditioner are not seen for at least a month. And I know that's a really long time to use a deep conditioner and not see effects. Now, I'm not saying you won't see immediate effects, but when it comes to moisture retaining, like any kind of long-term effects, you have to use a product for at least a month. And I know a lot of products will say with continued use, or, you know, apply as regularly as needed. That's the wording that gets thrown around a lot, but in order for you to see all of the benefits that they talk about on the side, you actually have to use a product for longer than just like a couple weeks. Now, once again, I think there are amazing products out there that are super concentrated and you will see immediate effects. You will. But in order to get all of the effects and all of the benefits that they're talking about from all of the key ingredients and extracts that they listed at the top, you need to use the product for a month. But specifically with deep conditioners, I think it's really important that you stick with something long enough to know if it's benefiting you or not. So make sure whatever deep conditioner you use, that it is a quality one so that you can get all of the benefits that they are advertising. You might get some of the benefits if you use it here and there, but in order to get them all, it requires continued use. One of the reasons why you might not see a damaging product is damaging completely to your hair is because that also requires continued use. I think a lot of times immediately you can get a feeling that isn't really that beneficial. So be mindful. Definitely make sure you're paying attention and pick quality products, because continued use will tell all things. And the fifth thing that all naturals should know by now is that the amount and the frequency of how you use a product determines if it works for you. Now, I know a lot of you guys know this already and it seems like a lot of common sense, but if you take a product and actually use a dime size amount like they say, guess what? It's probably not gonna work for me and my hair, and I quite frankly don't know anyone, any kind of natural ever, that has used a dime size amount. Maybe if you're high porosity, I don't know. Y'all let me know down below in the comment section, like, who actually uses a dime size amount? Who? If I use that little amount of product, I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff that does work for me, I would write off as not working for me. But that comes from knowing my hair type in its entirety, and that is listed down below in the description box of most, if not all, of my videos. So be sure to check there if you want to take my product recommendations seriously. If you just here to kiki, hang out, and find out the tea on something, I got you too. But if you want to know whether or not we have a similar head of hair, then definitely check there. I know for me, I need a lot of product, and I am also a heavy-handed diva. So when it comes to how much I'm using, literally squeeze the bottle, scoop out a whole bunch, you know, and apply, rake through, and also the frequency of how much I use it. In the beginning, I thought I could just clarify once a month, and I could use moisturizing shampoos later in the month, and that was good. But I actually found that clarifying every single week is something that works better for me. Now, everybody cannot do this, but it is a regimen that I have curated for my head of hair that benefits me the most. And I think that's what people also need to find out for themselves. Just know the amount, how much you use, and the frequency, how often you use it, determines if a product can work. Many times people can use a product a certain way, write it off as not being an effective product or a good product, and then they kick it to the curb. But quite honestly, like I said, amount and frequency also matter a lot. If you have the patience and you are willing to give a product a couple of runs just to see how you can play around with it to get it to work for you, by all means experiment. I actually encourage it, especially if you just went natural. But if you know your hair a little bit better by now and you slapped it on and it ain't really doing anything, that just comes from experience. And you don't have to waste your money on stuff that you know ain't gonna work. So be mindful that if you want to up your frequency or lower your frequency, or if you want to up the amount of product you use or lower the amount of product you use, it can still work for you. Like I had mentioned in my original video, do not be loyal to dysfunction. Find out what works for you and keep working it. So that is everything. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said in my original video, that one got so popular, I just figured I would share some more information. I don't see or hear these things being shared around a lot. It's a lot of things that I've known for a hot second, but I'm gonna share them out loud now because I don't see them being passed around. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you do like this type of content, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you guys really like this content, then I can continue to make these types of videos and share everything that I know from my head of hair to yours. Remember to let your spirit, soul, and hair stay lifted like an Afro puff, and subscribe down below to my world so you don't miss any more videos from me. And if you do, then I will see you in the next one. Bye guys!